And now, Detailing Success and P&S Double Black present the Renny Doyle Podcast, a podcast for blue-collar entrepreneurs. Hosted by the detailer of Air Force One and founder of both Detailing Success and the Detail Mafia, Renny Doyle.
Okay, here we go. So, hey, Renny Doyle Podcast Live, SEMA 2022. Today we got a panelist. First off, I want to thank everybody for being here. We were gone since 2019. We're back, a lot of us. Pretty amazing. But today we got a panel, so I'm going to let them introduce themselves here in a second. But it's called the Future of Paint Correction. Where's it heading? But we're also going to look back a little ways because I've got some really not so old guys here, but there's a couple of us that have been around. There's three of us that have been around for the wagon wheel days, you know?
Yeah, no jokes about me polishing the arc. Okay?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
The arc.
Noah and I were really tight.
That's exactly it. So, hey, again, here, welcome to P&S booth. We'll start to my left, your right, and we'll have each one of you introduce yourself.
Kraft with Griot's Garage. Glad to be here.
Justin Labato with Buff and Shine Manufacturing and Auto Geek.
Jason Rose with Rupes USA.
Chris Metcalf with Flex Power Tools.
There you go. Welcome, gentlemen. So we're really excited about this. So our goal and intent is to educate on this, is to bring some light. But with that, the first question out of the basket, so to say, is going to be one that might be kind of controversial. So let's react to this one. One of the greatest challenges that we've got within modern day paint correction is the fact that my great friend Jason Rose mentioned this about 5 years ago, and it's ringing true right now, is that OEM paint, factory paint, is thinner than we've ever seen it. Measurements on a brand new car, my wife just got a brand new car. She had a brand new car a year ago. And so let's go at both spectrums. A year ago, we were measuring paint on a brand new 911S that was in the 2s and 3s mils. A brand new Mazda is also in the 2s and 3s. With that being said, I think we need to handle paint correction much in the way that we do a medical profession, is do no harm. So with that, do you feel that there's still room for tools on factory paint today? And so we'll start this time. We'll go to Chris, and we'll go right down the line.
You know, things that, and we've been at a lot of trainings together and seen a lot of different things, but I think the biggest thing is getting your car to a position where you're able to maintain it. So a lot of times people buy a used car, things like that, and they have a lot of correction that they have to do up front. It's not something that you're always going to need to level that paint every time you go to polish your car. A lot of maintaining it, you know, putting a wax on or a quick one step on it a couple times a year, not something you have to do all the time. Your question though was rotary. I mean, do you need rotary today? I think with the technology that we have in the market today, I'm not sure if rotary is necessary for everybody. I would say a lot of guys that I have seen are really good with rotary. And it is not as forgiving as some of the tools that are on the market today. So I hope, did that answer it?
Yeah, I think it's close enough. I mean, that's your answer, yeah. Right? I mean, that's who he is. And so there is no right or wrong. This is opinions.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, today going into it. So Jason Rose?
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of whether we need rotary or not. It's the person behind the tool. So I think with any tool, any design movement of a tool, it's all about how that person uses it. And I think, generally speaking, all of us in the detailing community, we need to stop thinking about taking the cannon out and blowing it away and just mowing down paint. And we need to be thinking more of incremental defect removal and target customer-pleasing results while leaving the most amount of paint on the car possible.
Great
That's
answer.
what's needed.
Great answer. So now, I mean, you've got a unique position on this panel because not only are you a rep for companies, but you still have an active shop going. So your perspective on this is going to be interesting. And by the way, none of these panelists have heard these questions, have you? You don't know them. They're blind. So love to hear your answer to that.
I would say that I firmly believe to improve, not remove. You know, that's something that we play a big role as a operating shop for customers coming in due to the lower levels of paint being thinner. It's one of those things that is, there's a place for every tool. There's a lot of options for tools out in the market. Not everybody has the same skill set, to Jason's point. So, those type of jobs, when you measure the paint and do your due diligence, you're not trying to go into the job with a machete when you need to go in with a scalpel. And that's one of those scenarios where everything is individual, like a thumbprint. But that's what makes the professional different from the guy that is just getting into the profession himself, where there's that learning curve. So the right tool in the right hand, yes, but also, is it the right tool for the job? And that's where, we're into preservation, enhancement, protection. So in order to do that, and I learned this doing the Barrett-Jackson shows, where you're dealing with all these different paint types on the fly, that you have to understand and manage what you're working with and be able to enhance and protect without compromising the paint system.
That's great answers. And so
You guys all said exactly what I was going to say, so I'm not going to say anything. No, all
I don't
kidding
believe
aside,
that.
you all have valid points, and I think it's true. I think the tool that's being used on the job is predicated to the expectations, the type of defect you're working on. Is it the right tool for that particular job? I think the rotary polisher still has a place in the industry. You're kind of seeing a resurgence of it right now, from what I can tell. And so I think the right tool for the right job and preserving that paint over a long period of time is the most important thing.
So I'm going to give some input because I've thought about this obviously quite a bit. And then I want you guys to come back on this. One of the things we do in both trainings and on our own, kind of when we go from a training center to a laboratory, is we start doing real basic corrections. And we'll do a basic correction, one step or multi-steps, with a rotary, with a forced action, and with a DA. And what we're seeing is, using very solid techniques, is that the rotary is removing more healthy clear coat at a higher level than any of those other tools. So go ahead and we'll start right back here again and get a response from each one of you with that kind of in mind.
Oh, I agree. Rotary to mow down that defect or that imperfection well beyond its necessary means, leaving enough material on there to preserve that paint. The clear coats now that we're talking about getting thinner. That's true. So the total film build is getting thinner because you're getting a higher solids clear. So that higher solids clear is becoming harder, denser. So these guys that are, and ladies that are challenged with taking out these defects and scratches, are thinking, oh, I've got to open up the floodgates and throw everything at it to get these deeper scratches out. So that you're pulling off all this excess material and you're leaving very thin clear coat left behind.
Justin, response to that?
Some of these to me is loaded questions, right? So I'm trying to figure out how to articulate
That's
this.
what it's meant to do, is put us all in place,
With the, like, to Rod's point, the rotary has its place, and the whole point of the preservation, if you're gonna you got to lead by education, right? So if you're gonna have thin clear coat, you need to measure that. You need to understand what you're working with. You need to be either trained or shown how to use a paint gauge, so that way you could show that to your customer, right? That creates an experience for the customer that they may not get with the next guy. So you're already leading by education with that customer, and you're impressing them, but you're also now showing them, oh, we can't do this level of work on your vehicle because it only has so much material. There's only so much meat on the bone. Now, if you're dealing with clear coat that's thick and hardy, then yeah, and you got to mow it down, then go to it. That's going to be the quickest approach, is the rotary. But at the end of the day, if it's super thin, then you just need to break out your, standard or long throw DA, get it polished up, and step away, protect it, and that's that.
I like it.
I'm going to disagree a little bit, if I can.
I knew this was coming. I like it. Let's go.
So again, I'll go back to my point that it isn't the tool, it's the user, the guy behind the tool. But reality is, with technique adjustments, I can take a random orbital polisher and I can mow down and remove a lot of paint material really fast. I know how to do that. A lot of people know how to do that. I can take a gear-driven orbital. I can mow down paint and remove a lot of paint. You can take a rotary and actually be very gentle and not remove a lot of paint. It's all about technique adjustment.
Pad product technique.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm gonna highlight this a little bit. It also took how many decades to get that finesse? And we've got I hate to say it, we've got a whole generation of technicians that I don't know if they've got time or if they want the time to romance that. Let's go to Chris and then we'll come back.
No, I heard all of these different responses, and we all have our own opinions and things. But one of the biggest things that I think we all talk about during our trainings is doing that test spot. And I think every project requires something a little bit different. And you can't just have a rotary polisher. You can't just have a long throw polisher. You can't just have a gear-driven polisher. You have to have a variety of products, a variety of machines, and you have to do that test spot, you have to understand why would we go to the most aggressive product, the most aggressive machine, for every single car?
Right off the bat.
Yeah, I think that's what that was what I got from what every response everybody said.
I like that. Okay, so Justin?
I was just going to touch on the fact that, when we look at this as individuals doing the work and executing the craft, that's one way to spin it, and everybody has a valid point. But when you're working with employees and you're running an operation and you have to be efficient and effective and still produce a high level end result, that's where when you put these tools and products in their hands, that becomes a whole nother game changer on your perspective. Now, individually, can I in my shop? Can you? Yes, we all can. And the majority of that high level of craftsmanship can. But when you start to hand this responsibility over into other individuals that don't have the same, your 100% is not my 100% as an employee versus an owner, that's where things change. And that's where the variables come into play, to where you have to back off in a different way all these points are valid, but when you're dealing with multiple people, it's different.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a great response right there. Okay.
No, I think there's also other factors involved. There's what type of shop is it? Is it a production environment? Is it a shop that's doing high-end detailing where they're going to take the time to really look at that finish and really decide what direction to go in? So those are factors you have to take into consideration.
I like the fact, Jason, you brought it up. Hey, man, I'm going to, I kind of knew with that question, that's where I was hoping, I'd go there. I was like, go there. And Jason goes there, right? And so, but watching you, I've watched you through the years in different environments. You've got that finesse, you've got that touch, but so many people, it's almost like taking and using an English wheel to mold metal, not too many people.
It's a lost art.
It's a lost art. Right. And I'm not sure if we need to go back and romance that, because you've got a big thing in business called profitability. And then you've got, duplication. Do you want to work? Are you working in your business every day, or do you want to take and slowly work yourself to where you can work on your business and allow other people to become the technician, to Justin's point? So I think a lot of is the tool still valuable? Listen, on secondary paints, on boats, on gel coats, everything else, there's no question the value of a rotary, no question. But on these really thin OEM paint systems now, it does work that people are looking at perfection at all cost. So great. Any other add-ons that we want to go there?
One additional, just to tag on to what you said there. So when you think of skill and knowledge and the abilities of a technician, if you throw a random orbital in their hand and they make some mistakes, it may not be as damaging on the paint. But you throw a rotary in somebody's hand and and they do some damage, that's more damage.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. All right. So next question, mindset of maximum shine at all cost. Is that we've got we see the forums filled with it. We see it on Facebook. Is that people are going, and no matter how much clear coat is going on, is they're going to get that perfection on that. So we'll start with the young stud.
I have two categories for that. Ego driven, and there's purist. Purists are the ones that feel that they have to deliver 100% every time, regardless of what they get paid. Ego-driven stays in the same category, except they're pounding on their chest like Tarzan.
God, let's go to the middle again.
Yeah, I think everyone in the detailing community needs to ask themselves the question of, what standard are you building to? What are you trying to polish for the customer or for yourself? I mean,
there we go.
You really need to think about, why am I going to this standard? What is the standard? And then, is it customer pleasing? Because the big question is, customer pleasing results is very different from detailer pleasing results. And we all have this disease. We want to make paint. I have to admit, when I have a polisher in my hands and I'm on the paint, in that moment, I'm trying for perfection. And I think that is very widespread. Lots of detailers try that.
It is, and no to the younger people or newer people in our industry is, what a lot of us, except for this young man, is our livelihood doesn't depend on our addiction to shine. When you're running a shop, is that your livelihood is that is it duly beneficial for the customer and you, meaning that is your customer getting the shine they expect and allowing you to make the profits you need. So there's a big difference.
You know what? Let me start over again. My name's Rod Kraft. I have OCD. So most detailers start out in the industry because they have this problem. And to me, it's normal. I think everybody else that doesn't have OCD has got the problem. But it comes down to the point that we're trying to make these cars look perfect, but in reality, it does come down to reality versus expectations. So when we can figure out which direction to go,
Great.
that's what's important.
So I'm dyslexic. So what do they call OCD if you're dyslexic? You're all screwed up. I mean, yeah, it's messy. Chris, we'll get that and we'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, I just have, a quick guess is really, I mean, do what you're getting paid for. I think we talk about this all the time. It's like we see these guys, or people posting stuff online. They spent hours and hours, and then they never talk about what they got paid for. Did they get paid for doing 20 hours worth of work on the car, or did they get paid for a couple hours of work?
Hey, that's so when we had the lockdown, the last time that we all saw each other in 2019, shortly after the show, our whole world experienced something new, right? And I had a really well-known detailer reach out to me about 10 days into the lockdown. This person is world famous. And person explained to me that, hey, I'm going to have to break the law because if I'm shut down for another 10 days, I'm out of business. My response was, how dare you that you've told the world how successful you are, but yet you don't have enough money to even make it a couple weeks. And so that's a person that's been selling that perfection. And to Chris, to your point, they didn't make any money at it. Well, now all of a sudden that same person, I won't name them, I'm very proud of them because you've seen them transition. You've seen them grow. And it was a learning lesson that, going out and spreading fibs and not having anything to back for it. This person's one of the most successful detailers in the eyes of social media there is, but yet and I'm not against, we all had humble starts. I lived in a mobile home for several years because I was getting my start. This person's on the upper end of middle age. This person was behind on apartment payments. This person was behind on lease payments. So it was cool to see that person transition into being an entrepreneur and realizing that their health, their financial health was dependent on it. They couldn't no longer go out there and preach perfection at all costs, that they had to get with it and realize it. Any other responses to that to that question?
I would say a lot of it too comes down to lack of communication and managing expectations with your customers. A lot of detailers that get into this, and I'm not, how would I say this? I'm not discrediting. What I'm saying is that a lot of come in and they're introverts, so they don't know how to communicate properly and they don't know how to get the message across to manage expectations. So when it comes to the end result, that's
Good
what's
point.
being paid for. It's just no different than a mechanic that has a master at their trade. If they're really good at what they do and they're bringing you in for an oil change, but they see your brake pads are shot, they're not just going to go changing your brake pads for the hell of it and not charging you.
Oh, that's great.
So it's having it in your arsenal to be able to execute is one thing, and being able to give it that little bit of an edge to go a little bit above beyond. It's like the superpower of your limitations on what you can and cannot do. But you have to know when to stop that, and that's where the business side of it comes into play versus the ego side or anything else driven that is OCD.
See, that's great it's great having an industry expert up here that owns a shop still, because that's a message that needs to. Whoa. That's a message that needs to be spread. All right. Any other responses to that, gents? With that, let's move on. Now, this is, our as we produce this at the data filming, our economy is changing greatly. Matter of fact, I've had conversations the last 2 weeks. A good mentor of mine's got a wonderful relationship with Warren Buffett. They're great friends, and he's for the first time sounded some alarm bells that it's major changes coming. With that being said, coatings has changed our industry. I say this, and I don't mean this to rattle any cages than anybody, but really, a decade ago, a company came on the scene. We'd had legendary companies, Flex, Griot's around for a while, but this new company came in, Rupes, that really put a marketing side to the detailing industry that we hadn't seen in a long time. And then all of a sudden, along with that, coatings developed. And that really, it changed everything. It really has. Even for among competition, it's impacted us all in a very positive way. With that, is that there's a lot of markets to where selling a $600 or $700 correction and coating is just not viable. As professionals, what's your feeling about taking a car that has not been corrected and putting a coating on it, whether it's a brand new car or something that's been driven for a while? And so, Chris, we'll start down on your side this time.
Yeah, I mean, we all know people go on eBay or Amazon and buy from a third party, and they're just buying a coating that they really have no clue what they're even putting on their car. what they're putting on the car. So I would tell anybody that's thinking about doing a coating. I mean, you have to do correction first. You can't just put a coating right over top of it. I think that's really what it comes down to, is making sure that you get the paint to a position where it is almost perfect, or will accept that coating, because you don't want to do that, because it's just gonna give you what a coating does is it highlights those imperfections. And some people don't know that until they do it, and then they're like, wow, I didn't even see that scratch, so.
Rod, we'll go down to you on the end this time.
I think it's about setting the customer up and trying to qualify them for the coating. Is the customer qualified to have a coating on that particular car? Is it a daily driver? Is it a show car?
Good point.
Do they understand what the value of a coating is? Are they explained to what that coating can do and how to maintain that car going forward? So, we think about a coating, and is it something that's viable for me as a consumer? Can I go out and play with my car on the weekends? Can I wax it anymore? Those days of waxing my car with a coating on it are gone. I don't get to go out there and polish out on it anymore. So I think a coating is not for every customer. That's about the only way I can kind of sum that up.
I like that. Justin?
Um,
Now you're too low. I got you.
So it's a different perspective for me, because at the end of the day, the most relevant way of protecting a vehicle, the last standing product, the most relevant chemistry are ceramic, right? So it's, yes, qualifying, but at the end of the day, there's so many different recipes and formulas to choose from. We're selling on clean, shiny, and protected. We haven't lost that. That's been since the 70s, 80s, and on up, when it was just wax. The only thing that has gotten in the way is our own selves as detailers in the industry, because we have so many options now versus then. We didn't have as many options. So yes, qualifying the customer, but still setting them up for relevant chemistry, because there's, ceramic from spray on to the waxes. So the guy that does enjoy the therapy of being in his garage on a Sunday, waxing his vehicle, there's that. So still selling on relevant chemistry is necessary, but qualifying them, yes. But we're still selling clean, shiny, protected.
I like it. So you're saying, yeah, go ahead and coat it in some instances?
I would say at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that a lot of people slip on is you have your wash, your decon. What a lot of people don't realize is that you don't have to polish to correct. You could polish for that last step of abrasion to literally get that paint surgically clean, so you got integrity of bond for the coating. So it doesn't have to be for correction. It could be a zipper around done in no time at all with a good polish that doesn't have any, so you don't compromise the bond.
Yep, I like it. All right.
I'm saying absolutely coat for uncorrected paint. I mean,
Ditto.
100%, because
I'm going to agree with you.
it's about the customer and what do they want. And one of the major benefits of a ceramic coating and that durable protection is the ease of cleaning the car after that. And sometimes that's all the customer wants. They want clean and shiny, and they want that car to wash up easy. They don't care about every little scratch being removed. They want to clean the car easier and better long term. So I say coat over it.
Send it.
Yep.
Send it. So I'm going to give you an interesting perspective. The perfectionist in me, the craftsman, says correct everything. With that being said, as I bought a new Ram truck last year, built it into an overland vehicle, instantly I'm slammed. I have no time. I bring it in, I decon it, I wash it, I decon it, and I coated it. No correction. If from 5 feet back, it looks perfect. My wife, just in the last month, got a new vehicle. We did the exact same thing. I'm busy. There's no way I have time to correct it. We washed it, we deconned it, and we coated it, and it looks amazing. We've got people in our group that are now doing wash clays protects, and they're doing 125 to 175 an hour. And it's customers want a shiny protected car. The ones in certain markets, if they want near perfection, we can get that in a single step. If they want maximum potential, we can get that in a two-step. A lot of times we can get that in a one-step now because of the advancements in tools and advancements in products and the advancements of education.
And I think that comes down to setting expectations.
Bingo. Simple. Totally. My expectation was I just want to get the experience of having an easier to clean truck. Yeah. I went through and airbrushed the whole suspension and everything with coating and left it. It dulled it down a little bit, but now you can't tell a difference. And that thing the mud just washes off of it. Yeah. And so it was the experience I wanted. Anything to add to that?
The one thing I wanted to add was talking about coatings. And when I started, I've heard people buy stuff on eBay. I think buying from a reputable company, from a brand that's trusted, a brand that's done the testing and proven the product, I think that's important. I think that's something we missed in all of our responses, because we're talking about coatings, but we can go on eBay and we can buy a no-name brand that really is not going to warranty their product. They're not going to back the product. And
That's a great point.
We had a situation with a detailer in Southern California that the gentleman just bought a brand new Range Rover, top of the line, and told the guy that he wasn't going to be ripped off the coating, that all you had to do is the detailers to go down and buy a floor coating from Home Depot and put it on his car. Well, they did, and needless to say, didn't work out too good. So they called me to be an expert witness in a lawsuit against the detailer. And I said, why am I going to do that when you hosed over the detailer? You told him to do this. You got to pay for stupidity, not them. And so it's something like that. All right, great questions, guys. So let's move on to pad technology. With so many modern paint systems being sensitive, finicky, we've got GM paint now, all these different Subaru paints, Porsche paints are real sensitive. They're all over the place, right? We can't keep track of it. Simply having one or two pad options is gone. The days of just one or two pads is no longer there. We've got modern times, we got wool, microfiber, foam, open cell, closed cell. So let's just go. We're going to go start in the middle, and Jason, we'll start with you this time. Let's talk about where pad technology's been, where it is, and where it's going.
Yeah, so the trend, as you already mentioned, is that pads are getting more specialized. They are being more accurate towards a certain tool movement, right? We have rotary pads now, dedicated DA pads, and then specific to certain paints, clear coat, single stage, hard, soft, all that. So I think, the trend over the last few years, decades maybe, is that pads are being more specialized, and I think that's going to keep heading that way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And as paint gets thinner and thinner on OEM paints, the importance of pads is going to get even more important. It's going to become it's going to become more an arsenal in your total makeup of tools and available products. Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to just jump in there and go ahead and give my spiel here. But, the bottom line, these pads, they are going to keep advancing. I mean, the pad manufacturers, they're here. They're listening to all the detailers when they walk up to the booth. Buff & Shine just launched a new pad that fits your polisher and our polisher very well. It has an interesting way of lining the pad up. So those little things, and it's not, so you cannot just have one pad in your shop. You have to have a variety of pads to be able to get the job done.
Absolutely. Raw down.
No, it's true. It's just having a different type of tool in your toolbox. I want to be able to open that drawer and have a different tool that I can pull out that's going to get the specific job done. It's no secret if everybody knows Jason Rose and how long you've known him. He and I go way back to McGuire's days. Back in those days, it was all rotary based. I remember the first Porter cable that we tried to market back then. So it was a woolen foam pad. Those were your two options. That was it. And how thick were those foam pads? Pretty thick, 8-inch. 3 inches in thickness, maybe 2 inches. So imagine working on a car today with those pads as your option.
That's craziness. So I don't know what that revive is, but all right. So here you go.
That was a 12-volt area.
Yeah, right. We got some bass kicking in.
Yeah. I think with pad technology, what we have right now is, we were facing an issue where the polishers started coming out, the long throw machines, right? So as pad manufacturers, we had to play catch up with the machines and how they functioned. And then it went from now there's the paint types, but there's so many manufacturers in the game that make really good pads, and the technology of the foam, the fibers, and everything else that is in those categories. Now we're just finding the fit to the machines and the paint systems. And it's just a matter of there's so many options that we could dial that in as kind of a recipe or a solution to the problem that's in front of us.
Can I add one other comment? So
please.
as a company that does sell pads, as some of you guys do here, we wish it wasn't the case. I honestly wish it was not the case. I would love it that there was one pad that worked on every car. It would be truly amazing, but the reality doesn't support that. So more specialized pads for more specialized purposes is the reality. I wish there was just one pad that worked on everything, but that's not the case.
So now I'm going to kind of open up this a little bit, because this is a reality that people in the trenches are facing, especially with GM-based paint, is that if let's talk about pad maintenance and pad aging and pad rotation. We teach in our class when you come through is we've got 4 to 6 pads, all the same pad, and we're lining them through and we're rotating them through to keep them cool, to keep them cleaner. Because if you don't take and maintain, or if that pad's too aged out, it's going to affect the outcome of your work so greatly. I know a lot of detailers say, "Oh, that's just a grab from some of our pads." No, it's not. So would you guys like to respond to that a little bit in proper pad maintenance and kind of where things are going?
Yeah, so the reality, I think these guys would echo this, but the reality is once you start polishing by machine on a paint, the performance of that pad diminishes in seconds and minutes of use. So you've got a product and a procedure that when you start and you keep working it, you get less and less performance over time. So the whole strategy there is to reset the pad, get it to peak performance, and the only way to do that is either swap or frequent pad cleaning.
Yeah, I think it's important to explain why that performance drops, okay? Because a lot of detailers don't know, why do I need to change pads out going around the car? And like you said, the moment you put that pad on the finish, you're getting spent compound residue, you're getting clear coat or paint residue loading up. Pad load, residue load, that's a term that we've used for years. And so as you're loading that pad up and you're trying to go around the car the entire time, it's slowing down the performance. And then what do? We take the pad off, we put it on the shelf. We think it's going to clean itself. It's not.
Well, and let's face it, the pad making contact to the paint, it's a frictional process. We're applying friction. So what is the impact of that friction on the pad? Well, it means internal temperature is increasing. You know, that friction is impacting that pad every second that you use it. So it's about managing friction, which is managing heat. And the way you do that is swap the pads or clean them. Yeah.
That's one of the number one things whenever I go out to maybe an issue or whatever, where someone's having problems with something, and I just watch their normal process. And I think the biggest thing that I see is, they're not changing pads often enough. They're not cleaning the pads in between sections. And, that heat transfers to the machine, transfers to the glue on the backing plate, all of those things. So when we have delaminations on the backing plate, a lot of times we ask questions when we talk to those detailers. There's not a problem with our backing plate. We've had the exact same backing plate on our 3401 for 18 years, and so once we've nailed that glue down and we know that it works, just like Buff and Shine pads or Lake Country pads or Griot's pads, you guys have nailed that glue down and you know that it's perfect. And there's a variable that's caused that pad or backing plate to fail. And let's talk about it. Let's figure out what it is so you don't have the problem in the future.
Well, as part of that is overheating. To your point, is that you keep a pad on there and just keep working it and working and working it. Yeah, it just, that second that you've got, that 20 seconds when you're pulling the pad off and interchanging it with a new one, it lets not only the pad but the machine cool down enough, and it's rapid cool down, believe it or not.
So you're telling me that I can't just buy 2 pads, knock out a whole vehicle, and still call myself a paint correction specialist on social media?
I'm telling you right now, you can't. Yeah.
Just wanted to make that clear.
YouTube certified though.
Well, if you're with Buff and Shine, you get an endless supply of pads, so you don't have to worry about it.
I know the pad father.
Every single everybody on this panel is plus Lake Country. We use everybody's pads in training. And when I open up my pad my cabinet of pads, it's like you open up the Holy Grail. The detailers just go, wow, because there's shelves lined with each major manufacturer, right? But here's the thing: what you don't know is that all the manufacturers have come to us and said, "Hey, are you still using our pads?" And we say, "Yeah, we're just getting us out of it because we're properly cleaning them and we're properly doing pad rotation through." And so the pads are lasting a lot longer. So yes, your pad cost is going to be more expensive, but yes, they're going to last you longer. And so using more pads on a car, it's just beneficial in so many ways. And part of the side note of that is it's going to cost you less in the long run.
Yeah, it's been validated that it will cost you less. So yeah, you have an upfront cost, but if you properly take care of those pads, the whole group of pads will last longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pad cycling is a legit thing. Like it's a way to save money up front. Yeah, you have the cost, but long term you save money, and the pads do become seasoned, and you do get the use out of them. Absolutely. But you get time out of them that you're supposed to get. You get their potential. And that way you actually enjoy the brand. And I got to say this too, it's for the low end and the high end. If you're cycling them, you'll see less premature failure. But the problem is a lot of people don't want to put that upfront cost up front.
Absolutely.
And that's where they need to realize that's an investment, just like their machine, just like, anything else they have in their shop or their mobile unit. It's all an investment.
Well, the other thing to realize is that, the result of polishing paint is 4 things: the tool, the compound, the person, and then the pad. But of all those 4 things, the one thing that makes the most contact to the paint is that pad. So of all of them, you really need to take care of that.
Absolutely. So, hey, we're doing good. So we're going to throw a bonus question in there. Okay. And then we're going to take that bonus question is, listen, tool technology has just come so far. I mean, we're seeing, it's the game changer. Flex came out with the 3401. That was a major development for me. Next, Rupes comes out with theirs. Griot's has your little 3-inch that I've been using. I think you're going to see my original one that's still going. That is probably closing in on 15, 20 years old. All these different things, each one of your companies, Buff and Shine, Buff and Shine went from when I was a younger detailer, they were an affordable resource in the industry. Now they've come to be a powerhouse of development. So each one of your companies have really made a huge impact, and continue to make. So with that, what's next? What's coming out? Not to divulge any secrets. I know you guys have all got, I was able to see your guys' new handheld when I was over in Europe. And I looked at it and said, that thing looks kind of goofy. Then I put it in my hand. I was like, oh, this thing's badass, right? Each one of you are I'm so proud to have you each up here because you're playing such a huge role in making our lives better. And you're making detailers, you're making technicians wealthier. And so we'll just start over to my left and work our way right over. What's next? Can you share a little bit?
Well, I can tell you right now that from when I had my detail business, and I don't even want to tell you what the time frame was with that, but it was a rotary buffer was all that was available. Maybe a Porter cable, maybe some sort of a small DA type sander. That was about it. But a rotary was what I had to learn on. And so you look at the innovation of tools today, it's incredible to see whether it was a nano hybrid or the Pixie, or if that's, the technical term, but the size of these tools, if somebody told me years ago that I would be using a 1-inch pad to polish an A-pillar on a car, I would say you're absolutely crazy. So we just launched a couple of new things here at the show. I know Rupes did. I know everybody's kind of creating that new innovative next thing on the block. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in another 3 to 5 years.
Well, it is. And I know every time one of you guys develops something, then what's really cool is what a lot of people don't think about. The pad technology kicks in, and then the product technology kicks in, and it just keeps making our job easier, faster, and more profitable. So, Justin?
As far as innovation goes, I mean, as a technician and a detailer and a shop operator, it's one of those things that it's just cool being able to be on the forefront of doing this, working with, all of you guys, that have such a history in this industry at a level that's can't be repeated at this point. We've evolved so far, so it's with that innovation as we create more new cool stuff. It's just a matter of chasing what's going to be better and more and cooler than that last innovation. And I think that's where, like, whether it's pads or tools or whatever it may be, it's just keeping your ears to the ground, 1, and 2, listening to the end users, the detailers, understanding what their problems are that we didn't see as we manufacture this to make it better, to make it do better, to make it to where you're more profitable, to where it's easier.
Amen. This whole panel up here is about you guys. Is we work with you every day, whether you realize it or not. I know each one of these gentlemen and their companies personally and professionally, and I'm going to tell you, it's not about money. It is. Everything's about it makes it. But you know what? It's so much deeper than that for all these professionals and all the companies is they really want you to be successful. And it's really cool because the commonality and the workability of each of these companies is blending down into detailers. They're starting to work together like no ever because these are fine examples of working together. So, Jason?
Yeah, we're developing artificial intelligence. So you turn the tool on and it does the car, and then we watch football.
I like that. Hey, Boeing is working. They already have mechanical.
It's there.
It's there.
It's here.
It's there.
Yeah.
So so are you saying that's coming? Well, okay. So that's good because when I'm working with that tool, it's got some intelligence because I have zero. Just saying.
No, I think the future's pretty bright. I think there's lots of very great ideas being worked on. But I do want to point out the reality for innovation, and I'm sure other companies are facing this. But we're in a world right now where there is some big challenges that work against innovation, supply chain, and COVID impacts on companies and products and raw materials. I mean, we have some great ideas our company is working on, but we're really challenged by some realities of the moment right now. So
Weird world.
Things that are beyond our control.
Absolutely. It was who would have thought silicone would be so? I mean,
and copper wires
Yeah.
and
I mean-
a plastic piece. It's
Yeah.
just really challenging.
and
right
shipping.
now. And shipping,
and
yeah.
shipping, fuel
Yeah.
prices.
I think one of the biggest things with Flex is that we have a roadmap, and our roadmap is full of a lot of new products, and this world is changing as far as how we drive our cars. We're switching a lot of cars to battery powered cars. Our tools, we're seeing a lot more battery powered products that our company's innovating. I work for Flex, take care of the brand of Flex, but our bigger company, Shervon, and Shervon makes a lot of batteries for a lot of different products out in the market. And that technology that Shervon brings to Flex brings a premium battery product. And what we're seeing a lot of times is our battery powered product is actually better than our corded product. It gives you more power, and I think it's just going to evolve, and I think you're just going to start to see that. I would tell you, if you go with a battery powered product, you need to go with a brand name product. You cannot buy these I just heard it in my booth a little bit ago. Someone bought a battery powered product off of eBay, and it lasted 3-4 months before they saw the battery start to not last as long. And that's because the lithium that company is using is not meeting the standard of what our company looks at as a premium brand battery product. So
At that point, if you're in your 20s as a technician, probably in your career, if you stay in this as long as some of us have, is you're going to probably go to most of your work, if not all of it, is completed with a non-corded tool. So, hey, so real quick before we adjourn out of here, is love to have each one of you share. How do people get a hold of you and follow you and all that? So, Chris?
you can definitely look up flexpowertools.com. I would encourage you to come to the booth. We're giving a free polisher away every single day at 4:00. All you have to do is scan the QR code and we'll give you a ticket. But I'm available on social media, Chris Metcalf, Instagram, Facebook, and feel free to reach out. And I also encourage anybody that's watching this, if you do have questions, I am readily available like everybody up here. We want to help you. We want to make sure that you get the answers you need and take care of you.
And I want to do this real quick. This is appropriate. You guys you'll fall in line right now. Hey, happy 100th birthday to Flex. That's an amazing. That's an amazing fact. 100
it is
years,
crazy. 100 years of innovation.
100 years.
Congratulations.
And our CEO of Flex is in our booth, and I'd encourage you to stop by and say hi to him the next couple of days. It's crazy. We still manufacture on our original factory floor, and I know you've been to our factory, and you see from day one the factory floor, and just the years have gone on. And it's amazing that those people take pride over there in making the tools, just like Rupes does in Italy. And it is amazing that a company like that is still 100 years.
It is. Well, happy birthday. So
thank you.
Jason, how do they get a hold of you and follow you?
Yeah, rupesusa.com and then rupes.com for Europe and Asia. I'm active in social media and getting less and less on Facebook.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. I feel a little,
The drama on Facebook.
So, hey, Jason, as we age, we've decided to start up. We've been taking pole dancing lessons. So if you want to kind of follow us, it's Rod. We're going to recruit you. It's old.
You did bring the pole, right?
Yeah, we did.
I don't
So just so you hit. So
I have a new brass metal polish I want to try out. So.
All right, Justin.
You can reach me through Buff and Shine, Auto Geek. You can reach me directly on social media. And to plug away for Buff and Shine, we do have a $1,000 pad giveaway that we're doing. So all you got to do is go drop off your business card at our booth. And on Thursday at 1:00, we're going to do a raffle for that. Come by the booth for more details. Outside of that, I think we're a product of our own environment for what we do and what we represent. And I know you mentioned the money thing. Yes, we get paid to do this. I feel that the money is what fills the void for time and compensates us for time. But the legacy that we leave behind and help being innovative for these brands that work for, that's something that can't be replaced with money. And I think that's one of the biggest passions why we do it.
Amen.
Griot'sGarage.com. I am on Instagram more than Facebook. So Rod Kraft, Instagram. I'm not a big Facebook user. But I do this, yes, for the money, but it's more for the passion to pay it forward. There's a lot of things nobody taught me when I was learning in the beginning. So I do this because I want to drive the industry a little bit further along.
And I'm gonna take an end with this. Is that this year has been the first travel year. It's been a busy year for a lot of us. We've been all over the world again. We've been all over the country. But each one of the brands that are up here right now, we worked with all the way back at the start of the year. Our brands were all down in Florida with AutoGeek together. Yeah. And I want to tell you, the brotherhood and sisterhood that was built. Where's Robin at? Is she around? So we've got Robin Sweets around here somewhere. But she was just starting out with AutoGeek. You were just starting out with AutoGeek. You did a great job. But I was so proud of all these brands coming together and sharing and pushing it forward. Rod, your point, it was magical. And it just really, that's what keeps me going in this industry. I love it. But every time that I get a little burned out, I turn to a friend, I hear something, and it's been amazing. And so the opportunity to share with you guys is pretty cool. Yeah. All right. So any closing remarks before we adjourn? We want to thank everybody that's online. Thanks for Chris for setting all this up. He's our technical guy behind we got all these people in-house. What a treat. Everybody that's at home, we wish you were here. Big air hugs. Gents, thanks for coming in. Thanks for sharing your passion and your love.
Yeah,
thanks, Renny.
And we'll definitely see you next time. Make sure to go in and thank these guys for taking their time. It's a busy schedule here. Gents, thank you very much. Guys, take care. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Renny Doyle podcast, brought to you by Detailing Success and P&S Double Black. Listen to new episodes weekly, and be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And don't forget to share with your friends and colleagues.